Hi, and welcome to Monday, the 28th of September. 28 days. I've done 4 weeks of live shows, and here we are. Today, I have a fabulous guest, Pam Burrows. I'm going to introduce her in a minute, and we're going to be talking about all sorts of things stress-related. So, let's get going. So, welcome to the show, and today I have a guest. I'm talking to Pam Burrows. Let's bring Pam on screen, and we can start the chat. Hi there, Pam.
Hello. The inevitable waving that we're all doing now.
Waving as we get used to, yes. But I mean, this is it. I mean, we were on a Zoom call on Friday, and here we are on my show. And I noticed looking through your Facebook page earlier on that the number of people you've been guesting on Fred's show, and you're guesting on, and this is what we're doing, isn't it? I was on Nil's podcast the other week, so it's we're all helping each other out by being on each other's shows and helping to try and attract. I have noticed, interestingly, since doing these shows on a sort of every day, I try and go online every day, and I've pretty much made 4 o'clock most days. A couple of weekends it's had to be shifted a little bit, but I have noticed that the numbers of inquiries I'm getting now has really significantly increased. Excellent. So I'm almost getting an inquiry of some kind every day now.
Wow.
Some of them are no hopers because people don't have any money. Can you do this for free? I'm saying, I'm sorry, no. I actually have to pay my bills as well. So, but it's a strange old world. So I was looking at your page, the People Booster. So let's start there. What the People Booster? Why is that your theme? What's that all about?
Well, it actually came from a customer who was talking about how they feel when I'd been into their staff team and done the work that I do. So basically, the two things I do is reduce stress and raise confidence. And okay. people often use the term, I feel like you've given me a real boost. And then so it developed into a bit of a nickname, and there we are.
Ah, right. Okay. So what's your background that's drawn you into this as a speaking topic? Because it's not a common topic. Well, I suppose resilience is a big topic, but you're coming at it from a slightly different angle, aren't you?
Yeah, slightly. So very quick potted history. I started as a nursery nurse, then I qualified as a social worker, then I started training social workers. Oh. And one of the things that I noticed along that journey is that people who go into quite highly stressful professions tend to be people who are quite giving. They're fixers. I can sort this out, although they might not want to be thought of as a superhero. They have got that superhero stuff, they've got their shiny pants on underneath, and they're kind of out there fixing things, often because they're very sensitive to the needs out there. Now, of course, these two things don't go very well together. Being out there in the thick of it, in serious social care situations, safeguarding situations, and being a sensitive, empathetic soul can quickly lead to burnout, which is what happened to me. So I've been fascinated with personal development in general, and latterly stress in particular. And so over the time, I've learned more and more things which help us to tackle it.
That's interesting. My partner's a counsellor, and has dealt a lot with abuse, and they tended to deal with those sorts of counselling situations which most counsellors avoid, rape and sexual abuse, but men and women abuse, issues of gender, and it's such a I don't know how you describe it, but it sucks everything out of people, doesn't it? Because it's very difficult not to connect with the problems. If you're a social worker, if you're dealing with something, it's difficult not to emotionally connect with the awful problems that are going on in other people's lives. So
absolutely. Something that my mum often says, and she still says it now, is when she's talking with somebody who's had a traumatic incident, maybe they've been burgled or car crash or whatever happened, she'll say, I can't imagine how that must feel for you. And then what I know now is what she immediately actually does is try to imagine how that feels for that person. and almost starts to embody what that would be like if she was experiencing it. And it's a wonderful thing. It's a combination that I call superpower, super problem, because it means that you truly empathize with that person.
Yeah.
But it can disable you, because now you're feeling, it's like trying to rescue somebody who's drowning by drowning with them rather than pulling them to the side of the
Yeah.
And so, and what I teach a lot of people, teachers, head teachers, health staff, social care staff, but also people in the corporate sector, is that there are techniques that you can use to be as sensitive, as empathetic, but not actually, carry it around like a rucksack and everybody else's stuff comes with you, because that just will stop you actually from doing the great stuff that you want to be doing. So there's a way of protecting yourself.
So is it? I came across this on your website as well. The care model is that part of the process? Is it? Because
the care model, the 4 parts of the care model. Thank you for doing such marvelous research, Ricky. Actually, I'm very impressed. Very impressed. It saves me trying to remember all the things that I need to say. So the care model is like a distillation of 30 years of working with people and realizing how we get it wrong. And then there seem to be 4 categories of things of how to get it right. So the care model stands for, firstly, compassion. And it's not about teaching people to be compassionate to others, because often the people that I'm working with are being, if it's possible, too compassionate to others, because they're not remembering that in your mind. Stop beating yourself up for what you didn't get around to, because you set yourself too big a task to start with anyway. Yeah. So compassion, being kind in your mind. The second one is acknowledgement. One of the things that happens with burnout is you're switched on all of the time to what needs to be done, what haven't I done yet, what else is on the list. And you don't recognize how far you've come, what you have achieved, what is already done. So you're always looking for more, and you're switching on those stress chemicals when you're looking for more to do. So acknowledgement is about going, do you know what? I have actually done enough today. I have deserved a holiday or a day off or a cup of tea. Mm-hmm. So that's acknowledgement. The R is for reality. So the difference between saying yes to everything when actually in reality you haven't got the capacity. So reality is looking at how you're managing your time and any demands upon you, and how you work that through. And then the E is for energy, how we store it, how we keep it, how we maintain it, how we return to it. So how we manage our energy in lots of different ways. So the techniques I do fit into one of those 4 categories. And it just seemed, I was delighted when I finally found the acronym, because I thought, oh my gosh, it actually makes the perfect word as well. I've been working with a friend of mine doing like a mastermind, buddying up on each other's businesses, and she said, 3 years you've been trying to fit this into an acronym. I'm so pleased you found it. So
and it is good. I have one, PEP, PEPP. It's actually just about to get added something else on. It's becoming PEP with an S on the end, and it's become PEP story, but it's purpose, experience, passion, performance. And it actually came from Toastmasters. And I did a talk at a conference, and somebody said, oh, that stands for PEP. And I thought, so it does. Pep talk, we've got it. And it's so good, isn't it, when suddenly one clicks together and you think, that's it. This isn't trying to engineer words into
yeah. And it's and coming on to your subject matter as well, Ricky, it's you could make an analogy that you kind of, I want to have an acronym, I want to be able to explain this to people, so I'll cram it in and I'll find something that fits. And it's a bit like us as people, I want to be part of that gang, so I'll wear this and I'll do that. I remember when I first came out, I shaved my head and got a check shirt and some toe tech to Doc Martens. And yes, and now and again, these days, and decades on, I might occasionally feel like dressing like that, but it's not me. It's not my, mostly I wear a tutu. But in those days, I would have been thinking, I can't wear anything too femme because people won't think I'm a real lesbian, So just that kind of fitting in thing, rather than cramming yourself in, just like let it naturally flow. And
no, you have to. Most trans women, I know, when they trans, particularly older trans women, the problem is that most girls, somewhere between 14 and 16, just lose inhibitions and dress, middle of the winter in strappy tops and and next to no clothes. That's the and I think every girl goes through it. Loads of makeup, lots of things, even femles, and then all of a sudden you shift into another little group and suddenly, it's got to be goth now. So everything, all the stuff. Now the problem about coming out at around about 50 when I did, I'd missed that, so I had to do it.
Yes. Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
So I, for 2 or 3 years, hit the town in short skirts and strappy tops in the middle of winter, and did all this. How the hell I managed the nightclubs on Friday and Saturday nights, I have no idea. I really couldn't do it now. So it was, but I think this is it. At some point, if you haven't done it, there's like this yearning that says, I missed that. I've got to go do it somehow. I've just got to experience.
Absolutely. Yeah. I didn't come out till I was 27, and in my late teens, I kind of been a bit of a wild child as a straight woman. And then when I came out at 27, I had to do all of that again. I had to kind of get out and about, clubbing, copping off, one night stands. I had to do that whole thing, and experimenting with a bit of SM, and I had to do it all because, you say, it's like a rite of passage, and then you kind of find, what's right for you.
Find yourself, you think, this is who I am now. I've been doing a lot of mindfulness stuff for the moment. I've managed almost, I think I'm at 150 days every day and my guru is called David G, and he works for Deepak Chopra Center, who did for a while, now does his own thing. And I quite like him. He looks like Santa. He's got big white hair and a big white beard. He just looks everything that should be a guru. But he's very gentle and he's very nice with it. But he comes across with this whole thing: who am I? The big question you need to ask every morning when you first get into your meditation. Ask, who am I? Who am I when I'm in my best expression? And it's interesting when you just ask it. Don't try and answer it. Just ask. Who am I really? I found over this 6 months, it's beginning to change who I am. The stuff that I was letting go, I was thinking, no, I've got to keep on to that. That's who I am. And other stuff I was going into thinking, no, that actually isn't comfortable. So I think it's just, and this must be part of the whole stress management thing, is of actually being who you really are. And that's really the thing I wanted to get onto to talk about a little bit, or bring this one up. Is life more stressful, do you think, in the workplace for people who are, I don't just mean LGBTQ, it's people who are in minority groups. Does that make life, in your experience, more stressful?
There is always the potential for that. And as you say, it's not limited. It's anything which might set you apart from mainstream, whatever mainstream might be. Like, pretty much anybody's got something that sets them apart, makes them feel not quite fitting in. But generally speaking, I do know people who are mainstream for the most part, and they will experience highs and lows and roller coasters and difficulties. But then whatever you've got that is from one of those strands that makes life, that means that there's going to be some discrimination, there's going to be some unfairness, there's going to be unconscious bias people don't even realize, then that is going to exacerbate the problem. And I think one of the things in lockdown that I was very concerned about in early lockdown, where it was very severe, is people who, like, for instance, if they're not out yet, they're living with their family. And their family is, either they're not out to their family, or they are out and their family is really anti, they're homophobic, they're judging and criticizing and maybe abusing that person. So just that whole thing about being locked down with the wrong people, not being able to be who you are, and how many people have a secret life, that they go out and they do something that the people they live with don't know about and they don't want them to know about, and all of how do you get what you need when you're locked down? So I think all of that will have created more stresses. And that stuff as well about, you mentioned before we began the recording, Ricky, about the unconscious bias of who are you going to let go? If people have been furloughed and now they're going to be redundant, who you're going to pick, and if there's that unconscious bias there, that may well, whether it's about disability or gender or family situation, somebody who's just had a baby, for instance. So there's all kinds of things which are going to exacerbate that problem.
Put people under a lot of pressure, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I do quite a bit of training on unconscious bias, and I'm now actually adding into this a thing which I think is not noticed so much and not talked about, and that's actually hidden prejudice, which I think is quite different from unconscious bias. Unconscious bias is when we're doing things that we're just not really aware of because it's just the way we've been brought up. And one of the points I tried to make, I was in marketing for most of my career, and my entire purpose in life was to make people unconsciously biased.
Yes.
That's the primary job of marketing, is that you don't think when you go into a store, you just pick up the products. I've basically got into your head is that, beans means Heinz, you pick up Heinz beans.
Yeah.
I want that stuck in firmly in your head. And I've noticed all these if you look at all the political campaigns over the past few years, they really focus on trying to get this very short, repetitive message into people's heads so that they actually make decisions without thinking about it.
Yeah.
Because if they think about it, they'll actually realize that actually it doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
But they've been pushed into doing it, and that's it. Everybody believes, this product is the best one. It becomes more expensive. Oh, yes, because it's the best. And you just constantly do that with people. But hidden prejudice is very different. Hidden prejudice is where you actually have a conscious prejudice against some group, and now the law says you can't do that, so you have to hide it.
Yeah.
But all the time, it's bubbling underneath. You're feeling it there. The trans person walks through the door, the black person comes in, the woman in a hijab comes in, and all of a sudden, you start to work with you can't hide it, can you?
And that's stressful too for that person.
Absolutely, yes.
Never mind how they then start to behave in the workplace and the problems that it causes for the people that they're not comfortable with. But yeah, it's stress all round, really. I used to run diversity, equal ops. It's had every name, of course, anti-discriminatory practice. I think the very first course I ran was called anti-racist practice. And I did that with with a black colleague of mine. And we co-trained it, and it was for a team who the manager said we need some anti-racist training. Okay, cool. So we got to just before lunchtime, and the activities we were getting them to do were about basically, let's get it all out, all the stuff that you were talking about there, Ricky. Let's not hide it. I used to do a lot of permission giving for people. So, nobody's going to come down on you like a ton of bricks. And in the 90s, that happened a lot. If you said the wrong word and all hell broke loose, you can't say brainstorm and all that kind of business.
Oh.
And so we'd give permission, and then we gave permission and all hell broke loose. And what it turned out to be was there was one Asian guy on the team, and there were 3 or 4 members of staff who were being overtly racist towards him. And so the manager had brought us in to do this training. It was like, do you know that thing between a management issue and a training issue? There are certain things. You got the whole team. There's about, 20 odd people in this team. And the issue was with, these 3 or 4 that were causing the problem. And of course, the Asian guys there in the team. In the room, and it's all, they all start shouting at each other. It was really, really unpleasant. Oh. And so I think there needs to be a way for people to get those things out, to say it is how we've been brought up. For whatever reason you think these things, and in better times, that was a very long time ago, and it taught me a lot about what to do, the questions you ask when you get commissioned to do a course. But the point I wanted to make with that is that nowadays what we really need is to give people a safe place to explore what's hidden. What you're feeling a bit anti, let's look at what that is, without any blame. But what happens, especially if you are a very open-hearted, open-minded, I'm not going to use the W word, but you're kind of aware and conscious of discrimination, whatever, then it's very quick to get you might be quick to get triggered by that, and you want to be angry with the person. You want them to realize how wrong they are, and But of course, then we just set up this, no-win situation where you're so angry and defensive that they just get defensive. They don't listen, and nobody wins. So I think it's really important in workplaces that that people deal with this in a way which allows conversations to happen and allows people to make mistakes whilst making sure that everybody's safe, because what you don't want is the person who is trans or disabled, or the one black member of the team is there when all this is happening. It needs to be done safely. But I think what you're talking about has to be addressed. You can't just say to people, well, if you've got that view, just don't tell anybody, because it's just festers.
It just struck as you were speaking there, it suddenly struck me. I mean, I've when I changed gender, I was used to going into meeting rooms and being aware that there were sometimes only one or two women in a huge meeting room. Obviously not something I noticed as a man, because you just go to a meeting. When I went in as a woman, suddenly I'm thinking, oh, there aren't very many women here. So you sort of polarize towards the women and try and at least feel there's a little bit of support around you. Of course, being trans, invariably, I used to go to a meeting and I was the only trans person there. Less and less so. And there are more of us around. But I think you must have experienced the same thing, that, the only lesbian, the only gay in the village, the only lesbian in the room. That sort of thing happens a lot. But the white cisgender men who dominate business are not aware of that. I certainly wasn't.
Yeah.
As a man, and that must be. It's just as you were thinking, I thought, there's these undercurrents of problems are there, and I sit with people who I think are not racist, and then something will come up on the news, and suddenly they'll make a comment. I think, oh my God, that was a hugely racist comment about migrants coming in from another country, or Muslims, or suddenly an association that all Muslims are terrorists. And you think, oh, whoa, where are we going with this? And I live in Hull. We had a massive problem back 20 years ago where they suddenly imported about 1,000 young Kosovan men into the town. No women, just the men. Well, got 1,000 young men coming into a town. First thing they did was go out looking for 1,000 young women. So all the boys in the town suddenly said, you're not having our women. Next thing we knew, we had literally culture war. 10 years later, there were no Kosovans in the city, and yet all migrants were still called Kosovans. It became part of the whole culture, which is, I'm very stressful. You're going out for a night out, and you always this worry that something, is going to happen. So let's just, as we're sort of, I'm going to try and keep this to about 30 minutes. How can we make, what would be your top tips for making a workplace less stressful, particularly for those people who are coming from a minority group background, people who are lesbian, gay, trans, or occasional Muslims, the token Asian person?
So first off, you've got to have your own toolkit. So for yourself, you have to have someone you can talk to and say, I can't believe that person did that thing again today, and know that person's not going to judge you for it. Right. So I think, there's a lot less. I live in Nottingham, and we have a lot less gay bars than we had when I first moved here about 25 years ago. We had a big upsurge, and then there's hardly any. I think there's one nightclub, but you can't really tell. It's very, very mixed now. And people say, we should be mixing, we should be blending, we should be, we should all be equal and whatever. But there is something about, let's say, for instance, as a woman, you want to come home and say about somebody that was sexist today. If you're saying that to a man, then they're going to be, there's a danger that they're judging you. Oh, she's off on that feminist thing again. If you're saying it to another woman, she's just going to get it. You're not going to have to excuse it. No. So I think we all need people that we feel that we don't have to explain. We can just be cross about something. We can just ask for support, and that's okay. So we need our people.
Right.
We also need workplaces in which asking questions is the first thing we do when something goes wrong. So, for instance, somebody makes a racist joke, transphobic joke, whatever it might be, that the first thing that happens is somebody says, I don't really understand that joke. Can you explain to me where the funny is and where you got, or, you know, something about immigration. Oh, where did you get that information from? How do you know that is true about this many people got a car when they arrived in the country, or, you know, whatever nonsense is. And for me, that has changed. When I used to do this training on a regular basis, that's changed workplaces enormously, that we ask questions rather than how dare you say that, or I'm not speaking to him again, or whatever, that we ask questions.
That's an interesting thing. So just to, because I heard it was all the time. I mean, we've had a lot of migrants coming into Hull, and all the time it was, oh, they get cars, they get fridges, they get this, they get that, they get, and there's this huge list of all the things that they got that nobody else got. Or they get jobs as well. Yeah, mostly picking fruit, but nobody actually wanted to do. But it's interesting. It's very easy to become confrontational with someone like that, isn't it?
Yeah. And think of it. This is a terrible way to think about it, and I always hesitate and kind of get a little caveat before I say it. But for me, it's just how my brain connects. It's like backing a dog into a corner. You know, even if it's a friendly dog, normally, if you're a stranger and you back the dog into the corner, what's it going to do? It's going to snarl, it's going to spit, it's going to defend itself, when actually it's scared. That's actually where it's coming from. And so I'm not suggesting that people are like dogs, but just in that confrontation, reminding us what confrontation engenders in both. And what we want is, we want to draw them out. We want them to be able to open up, feel safe enough to say, actually, I'm not sure, or I'm angry, or I'm confused, or whatever it is, or somebody told me this and I believed it. Because those are the conversations that mean they're going to learn then, you know, and then move on. So confrontation is the last thing we want. Blaming and you know, coming back, being angry is the last thing we want, and because it's too binary, funnily enough.
Absolutely, yeah. No, I like that, and the idea that, you know, finds. I've always been very much strongly about, you know, if somebody's transitioning at work or coming out at work, try and buddy them up with someone who will support them, because if you've got somebody who you know is going to be friendly before it even happens, that actually helps the whole process through. And that's somebody who will actually have your back when somebody makes comments when you're not there. They'll actually say, oh, that's not appropriate. So that's, but yeah, the whole idea of actually, when somebody makes comments, just saying, well, where did you get that information from? That's interesting, because people very often will just chuck stuff off that they've heard. When you question it, then it's, everybody knows that. Well, do they?
Yeah. And the trick is to ask it naively, not in a, you know, where on earth have you had that from? You know, just, oh, I'm curious. And you will make yourself, you know, like if you don't get the joke, you will look like you're a bit daft. But I'd rather look daft and get them to open up and make progress than, you know, be self-righteous and be having a go and then just, you know, build another wall, because, you know, it's all about breaking those walls down.
So finally, can I ask you about online spas?
It was a little experiment, and honestly, it's kind of gone boom. And so very quickly, me and a bunch of mates, we have a women only camping trip that we do every year, right. And then we weren't able to do it. So I said, hey, let's do it online, and we'll make it a bit like, we'll do the whole weekend. You can camp in your garden if you want. You can have a bonfire. I'll be in my shed, and you know, because I've got the internet in my little shed, and we'll do it, and we'll do the yoga that we normally do in the morning. We'll have a bonfire, we'll have cocktails, we'll do the whole weekend how we normally do, because honestly, it just feeds my soul every year. And we're like, oh, I can't do it. So we did it, and it was fab. And I thought, do you know what? I could do this for customers. I could do this. So I set one up for anybody who wanted to come along, and we had we had our feet in a bucket of soapy water. We did foot spas. We did reflexology. We did self-massage. I taught them how to do self-massage on the tension in your shoulders. We did we pretended we were on a beach in the Maldives, did a visualization, relaxation, and all with fairy lights in my shed. So we were in this imaginary spa. People lit candles where they were. They had blankets and cushions and hot cups of cocoa. And so we had this online spa. So did that a couple of times, went really well, and decided that for everybody that's been working through lockdown, I'm offering a free one. That's turned into 2 because I had 91 people in the first instance. It's about 130 now. So I'm doing 2 Wednesday evening and Saturday morning. A couple of hours, taster spa. Some of those people are then hopefully going to want a whole one for their team. So it's possible to have a luxury spa online. Who knew?
Online. Absolutely fabulous. Thank you very much indeed, Pam. That's been absolutely great. And I hope everyone's got a few thoughts and ideas about things that can help to make your life just that little less stressful. If you want to know more about Pam, you can find it at pamburrows.com and on Facebook. And I started looking, I got linked to LinkedIn and to Facebook and to Twitter. And Pam is everywhere online. And yeah, it's been absolutely brilliant. Just hang on there a minute, Pam. I'm going to close the show down, and we'll just come back to you at the end. So thank you very much indeed, Pam, for being here with us.
Okay.
So there we go. That's today's session over. Now, just to remind you, if you check down below, you'll see details of the trans and non-binary inclusion workshop I'm running on the 20th. Please do book up for that, because it's going to be a great, very interactive 2-hour event, helping you to understand how to make your workplace more inclusive for people who don't conform to the gender binary. And I'm doing it on a very simple basis. Pay what you can afford. Recommended minimum of £20, but if you just pay what you can afford, and it's going to be there. Now, I'm going to be back tomorrow, where my guest will be Joanne. I've forgotten Joanne's surname, Joanne Lockwood, and Joanne's really good into tech, so that's going to be a challenge for me, because Joanne really does know her thing. Another trans woman. Anyway, that's it. Look forward to seeing you tomorrow, and thank you for being with us.